All right, thank you so much. Welcome to another episode of the award-winning Sales Game Changers podcast. My name is Fred Diamond. Of course, I'm the founder of the Institute for Effective Professional Selling, and this is a special office hours Sales Professors Unplugged podcast where I typically interview directors of selling programs at universities that have a sales major, minor, or concentration. Greg, we've done a bunch of these shows and the engagement that we get is always amazing. Today, I'm going to be talking to Greg Accardo with LSU. I want to remind people you can read all of our past transcriptions at salesgamechangerspodcast.com. You can read all the past office hours and all of the over 800 shows that we've done, Greg. You could listen to the show. You could read every transcript. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. Go up, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment or question. That would be great too. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. We would greatly appreciate that as well. All right, Greg. So on April 9th in Baton Rouge at the campus, is it on the campus of LSU, your event?
That's correct. Yeah, it will be at our alumni center here on campus.
All right, very good. So I got Greg Accardo, and the program is the LSU Sales Symposium. And the agenda really caught my eye. And you and I have talked a couple of times before. We've interviewed a lot of the directors of university sales center alliance programs. So we've been wanting to get you on the office hours, Sales Professors Unplugged. But since you have the symposium coming up, I want to talk about what you're going to be covering, why you're doing the program. You have 6 world-class speakers, some from business, some from academia, and I'm excited. I want to get deep into what they're talking about. But since this is an office hour Sales Professors Unplugged show, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about your journey to LSU?
But first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. I know we've been trying to plan this for a while, so it's great to be on. So, yeah, LSU is like a lot of other sales programs at other universities around the country. We've been around now for about 12 years. I was fortunate enough to be hired to be the first director of the program. Being an LSU alumni, that was a great honor to be able to come in and take this startup from basically nothing and grow it and nurture it and kind of made it my baby over the last 12 years. And it's been a nice ride and I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute. The LSU is an R1 state school here in Louisiana. Our College of Business is probably about 3,800 students. 900 of those students are declared marketing majors. We have about 200 of those students that are declared for the sales concentration. We also offer a concentration in digital marketing and also a concentration for marketing analytics. In addition to that, we also have a sales team that competes nationally and regionally across the country. In fact, we're gearing up for a competition this next week. We'll be leaving, excuse me. Which is the fun thing about the sales competitions. I get to interact with all the great people you talk to all the time, the other sales faculty members from around the country.
Yeah, that's great. And I've gone to a bunch of competitions all over the country, and as listeners of the Office Hours Sales Game Changers podcast know, we're blown away by these young adults. We're blown away at how talented they are. It's funny. I tell people Gartner is one of the big sponsors, and I went to a competition last year where the young adults were doing. It was a national collegiate sales competition, and they were selling Gartner services. I've been a customer of Gartner in the past, and these young adults were better than any sales rep that I've ever been sold to by Gartner. So what you all are doing. So the sales program, tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about some of the curriculum. Where do the young adults want to go after they graduate? What type of companies? How do you prepare them, et cetera?
Yeah, that's so typically, I guess the best way to address that is a lot of the students who come here to pursue a degree in marketing in our college. I would say half really don't, not really sure what they want to do. They're kind of at that point where they don't know what they don't know. Luckily for them, we feel like we offer them enough opportunities to kind of fill in the gaps and figure out where they should be going, where their desires are, their talent, if they want to be regionally. Obviously, a lot of the big metro centers tend to be attractive. Students want to go to Dallas, they want to go to Austin, New Orleans or maybe on the East Coast, Charlotte, New York City. But the really thing that I'm proud of the most, I think, Fred, is that our students who come in and perform well in the program, I have yet to have a problem working with a student trying to find them a job. Okay, it's that takes care of itself. Once they come into the program and they absorb the material we give them, they take advantage of the opportunities. Those opportunities just happen between our corporate partners or companies that are not our corporate partners. I think maybe some of that too is we really leverage our students hard to put a lot of effort in their LinkedIn profiles because we're preaching them all the time that your LinkedIn is your digital footprint and it's almost now more important than a paper resume because I don't know of a single recruiter that's out there recruiting salespeople that's not going to go straight to your LinkedIn page, even if they got your paper resume. It's almost like they have to go there to see. Let me go see the details of this person. I want to see their picture, their branding image. I want to see the titles they put in here, their experiences, maybe any videos they might have added. So we really pushed them hard to put some effort, some time into that LinkedIn profile. And that has paid off. I will admit. So I guess the other side of that is that we offer a lot of networking opportunities for our sales students. We do a sales career expo both spring semester and fall semester, and those are well attended by students. We gamify that event. We have a speed selling competition. We call it the Golden Ticket Championship. So students can get really competitive. There's also an added incentive for all the sales students to complete a journey around all the companies that are at the Sales Career Expo, and they can earn extra credit for some of their professors will offer them a little extra credit if they make that effort to go and do that elevator pitch to those companies, give them that resume, tell them a little bit about themselves, learn something about them and that's paid off. I think that we've created the environment, we've kind of created the tools, and we put it all together, and we just sit back and let it happen.
That's great. And I agree with you about LinkedIn. Since we started doing the office hours, Sales Professors Unplugged, I must have gotten, I don't know, maybe 300 outreach from selling students who were on LinkedIn who were reaching out. And, I see a lot of them, they all have the 500 connections that you should have, or most of them should
Hmm.
say. And, I could see where they're populating their LinkedIn to be oppressive, to be, to be a good candidate with students. And I agree with you too. One of the great things that I've learned since we've been doing the podcast, Greg, is you're preparing students to hit the ground running, not just to hit the ground running, but to hit the ground running as if they've been working for 3, 4 years. All the programs that I've worked at, the people I've met associated with years and other programs, these students, they understand the sales process. Now they need to learn about the company and the markets and products, which takes a little bit of time. But a lot of the employers that we've been talking to said that, these young adults are as if they've been working for 3 years, which helps with retention, which helps with management, and it helps with leadership. So it's great to talk to you and the various people around the country that we've spoken to. Now, on LinkedIn, I kept seeing these announcements about the LSU Sales Symposium, and it's on April 9th. It's in Baton Rouge. It's on campus. Tell us a little bit about this program. Then I want to get into the details about your 6 speakers and why you picked them and what they're going to be focusing on. So, is this program, are you looking to have students or selling professionals from the Baton Rouge local industry? Who is it really for?
Yeah, so first of all, let me give you a little bit of a history and how the event kind of grew into what it is now. So, one of the classes that I teach is the capstone course in the sales program. And in the capstone course, we're pushing the students into a live sales project where they're selling a real product to real people. We equip them with CRM, some AI tools, and we put them in teams with a sales manager that they select. And we run it like a company, and they have a quota they have to meet. Okay. So we have a couple of events that are set up each semester for the class to sell participation in those events. We do a Top Golf event in the fall, and the class sells the bays on the third floor of Top Golf. But in the spring, we do a symposium. Part of this is kind of a twofer. It's a sales project for the students that because they have to sell the tickets and they have a quota. that these teams of students have to meet. Uh, but it's also for us to kind of showcase some of the academic stuff that we're doing, not only at LSU, but at other universities. Kind of give the world of sales kind of what's happening at the academic level and at the practitioner level. And we design in a way that salespeople and sales leaders can come to these events and walk away with something that they can take back to their company and to make them better, to make them a little more productive, more efficient. Okay. In the past years, we've covered the gambit. We've done sales technology. We've had sales training. We did one with women in sales. We've hit all the bases. This year, we decided to kind of turn the lens around. And this year, the focus is going to be on the buyers. So, as sellers, we're really so focused on our own skill sets and our own methodologies. Do we have the most up-to-date tools? Are we using the right methodologies? Is our cadences aligned just right? But very little time is spent studying the buyers. Okay. And my good friend Lef Bonnie, who's going to be the keynote speaker, gave a talk at a one of our academic gatherings a few years ago. And I remember Left's slide he put up, and the first slide was, yeah, AI has changed selling, but AI has also changed buying. Okay. And we're like, that's interesting. Yeah. What has the emergence of AI done to the people who do buying? And so there's luckily, I think there's enough emphasis now in the academic side that's now geared toward focusing on this evolution of the buying process because of technology. But what's happening to the selling process? Is it still siloed away from the buying process? Is it aligned with the buyers and how they're making decisions and how their buying processes have evolved and adapted? And we think that we can really come away with something here that helps sellers to kind of step back, not necessarily look at themselves so much, which is important. We know that training is important, keeping up to date. But are you doing anything that's preventing your buyers from saying yes because your process is antiquated? And so we want to dive into that topic. And that's kind of the theme we're going with. It's not just a buying process, but it's also the psychological impact of buyers because of the emergence of artificial intelligence. And because that has now entered that space, and I think Leff even said it before, is that your buyers probably have better AI tools than the sellers do. Okay. So sellers may not even be aware of this, and they're just going into a sales situation blind without thinking about or studying what's going on with my customers or my prospects. And am I doing anything that's making it harder for them to say yes? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
so that's right on target with everything that we hear, of course, on the Sales Game Changers podcast, not just the office hour shows. And it's been an evolution, probably, probably Greg, for the last 20 some odd years
Mhm.
that has really accelerated over the last, 2.5 years with all the GPT tools. Uh, and we keep talking about this all the time on almost every single Sales Game Changers podcast and at every Institute for Effective Professional Selling event, is that if you're not bringing real value to where the customer needs to be in a year or 2 years from now, they really have no need for you. And like you just said, I never thought about that, but they probably do have great tools, probably better than what we're using on the sales side. And uh, I like the way that you're focusing that uh, because we used to say that, people would say that the sales rep, the customer was 57% down the road, the challenger statistic that we've all been talking about for about 15 years now. And it's probably even further down with AI because you can get so much more and better information. So let's talk about the agenda. You're going to be kicking things off with George Talbert from Elon, and he's going to be speaking on From Pitch to Perspective, why the future of sales starts with the buyer. So you just gave us a great perspective. What do we expect from George?
So George is a great friend of mine. He's at Elon University, and George is unique because George does a lot of consulting in addition to his academic work and his research. Uh, a lot of companies go to George for help in solving sales related problems. And George has got a long history, a lot of years of experience working directly with big companies, trying to navigate these complex issues. And when I challenged George and said, "Hey, we'd like to have you come and be part of this event," he said, "I've got a perfect presentation for it." So I don't want to take too much away from George, but he did tell me that it's going to be pretty impactful, and it does align with this theme that we want to help sellers to get better educated about buyers.
All right, very good. So then we're going to be going, which this topic caught my eye. Kip Knight, tell us about him. I presume it's a him, and
Yep.
how sellers can build custom apps to attract and qualify buyers.
So Kip Knight is he's a great LSU alumni and
Okay.
a great friend of the marketing department at LSU. He's an entrepreneur. He's been head of marketing for several companies. Right now, he's head of a startup called CMO Partners.
Okay.
And so Kip is one of those guys that you want to be around a lot because he's got that kind of brain, almost like an Elon Musk type thinking.
Mm,
So he's always looking for the next best technology to attract customers and engage with people because that's his whole background is marketing. He's been a marketing executive his whole life. So he's been dabbling in this world now with how do you create these new apps that you can use that would help your buyers find the products that they need and lead them straight to you. So Kip is gonna talk a little bit about this. There's always some new software that he's been experimenting with and he's
mm.
tested it. And so Kip is going to come to this more from the CMO perspective, okay?
Okay.
And which I think is important. We should kind of understand what are CMOs looking at, and again, because their whole world is about attracting buyers.
So I love the theme throughout the day, and that's going to continue with Bob Rickert, whose title is "The Buyer Seller Exchange is Being Rewritten," and you very crisply clarified that for us in the beginning of today's office hour sales professors. Again, we're talking with Greg Accardo at LSU about the upcoming LSU Sales Symposium. So, what do you want to tell us about Bob?
So I met Bob about 8 years ago. Bob had a book that he had published. It's called Profit Heroes.
Hmm,
I saw the book. I bought it. I read it. I was blown away. I was like, so I contacted Bob. I said, Bob, look, I read your book. This is a game changer. From a sales perspective, I think this is something that's really impactful. If we could teach students how to do this, Bob and I talked about how could I design this into a class where you're selling the financial impact. And Bob uses some spreadsheets that are calibrated. You can plug in numbers and show a customer very intuitively if we pursue this pathway, these are some of the outcomes you can expect. So I thought Bob would be perfect for this because Bob is also a consultant. I think he's working on another book now. He's from the Chicago area, so he's up there working with a lot of the companies in the Chicago area doing his consulting thing. But again, Bob understands he's at the ground level. He knows that the script is being rewritten, and so we want to hear his insights on what he's seeing and bring a little different light to the subject.
I tell you, man, as listening to hear you describe what's going to be talked about at every session, it's going to be a masterclass in what selling professionals should be doing. I applaud the young adults who are going to be listening to this as well, and so much great content for them. You mentioned Lef Bonney at FSU, who's going to be doing the keynote speech. How buying behavior has changed in the AI age of AI, which you touched on. I've seen Lef speak again. He spoke at the University Sales Center Alliance annual meeting back in October at the University of Texas, Dallas. Obviously, a bright guy, came from industry as well. So, anything else you want to tell us about what he's going to be talking about?
So just to let everyone know that Leff is from Florida State University. He's a tenured professor in their Department of Marketing, primarily in sales and sales management. But Leff is a really impressive speaker, and
Yeah.
I've never been to a presentation there where Leff was presenting on a topic where I wasn't just amazed.
Yeah.
And again, I think part of that is has a big presence in the consulting world, and he's able to gather all that real world knowledge and bring it into the academic world, making it part of his research. But he's always finding these new things, and they're just amazing. It's like, well, why didn't I think about that?
Mm,
So it obviously it made all the sense in the world to put him at the top of the bill on this and make him the keynote because again he was the catalyst of this. So I still remember Les' presentation years ago about what has AI done to the buying process.
mm.
Are we even looking at that? So so Lef is that's been a few years. So I think Lef has got a lot of meat to put on the bone for that, but all the research he's been doing.
Well, speaking of research, the next topic is going to be Dan Rice, and he's going to be covering the Salesforce customer interaction, modern perspectives from customer behavior research. So, university, academia, I'm excited for, do you know, can you give us some insights in what type of research he's going to be presenting?
Yeah, so Dan is a colleague of mine here at LSU. Dan is also the director of the Behavioral Research Lab here in the College of Business. So part of that lab is Dan has some really advanced tools for eye tracking, facial recognition. We have technology in there where students go in to do experiments and you can watch a video and it tracks the muscles in your face with a trend chart to see what parts of that video are positive or negative. Dan's got some really unbelievable research that he's been doing recently in the consumer behavior world that really fits into this whole theme about what buyers are seeing and what are they thinking. And part of what we're going to do with Dan may even bring his technology and do a demonstration for people where they'd watch look at a picture and see where the heat map of their eyes track on the picture. But Dan's going to bring some insights on what are the modern buyers looking at, what are they thinking about, what's motivating them. So this is going to fit in really nicely with this theme again, is that if you're a seller and you want to get into the mindset of buyers, this is going to be something you're going to want to walk away with.
No, that's great. And actually, we've worked with some companies that have created that type of technology that tracks it, if you will, and uh, it's just fascinating. It gives you other angles on, how do you engage? And as we talk a lot on the office hours and the sales professors, the Sales Game Changers podcast, everything's about engagement, right?
Mhm.
Everything's about, over the last, again, we're doing today's interview in February, early February of 2026. And again, the LSU Sales Symposium is going to be on April 9th in Baton Rouge. Uh, Engagement's gotten harder, right? Not just because of AI. The pandemic has shifted so many things. Most of our engagement now, Greg, is, of course, is over Zoom and over web type technology, if you will. And there's only so many things. And a lot of sales professionals who were successful in the 80s and 90s that are still working early 2000s, they miss the personal interaction, right? Being with a customer, there's so much more you can gather. You could see movement, et cetera. You could see various signs, and that technology we've gotten demonstrations of, and it may not be exactly what he's doing, but it's similar concepts. It's absolutely mind-blowing, some of the things you can discover. All right, you're then going to be winding down the event, the last presentations with our friend Howard Dover, who also has been a guest on the Sales Game Changers podcast. He's covering the end of spray and pray outbound, how precision, relevance, and AI are redefining go to market. By the way, I want to applaud you for having your agenda set, 2 months ahead. I've gone to conferences where it's completely different than, or there's a lot of TBHs here. So
Yeah.
kudos to you for filling this out. How's Howard going to wrap things up for us?
So Howard's been a mentor of mine for since the beginning. We're great friends. We visit regularly. In case you didn't know or your audience doesn't know, Howard's got a great book out. It's called The Sales Innovation Paradox.
Mm.
Highly recommend it. Anybody in sales or sales leadership, more importantly, should get a copy of that book and read it. But Howard's at UT Dallas, and he's been at our event before. So this is right up Howard's wheelhouse. That Howard, it comes to this from a perspective as a technologist, and Howard understands the benefits of technology, but also understands the limits of technology
Yeah.
and how technology can be great in the sales world, but it can be damaging if it's misused or overused. So I think Howard's going to turn this around and try to let sellers take a different perspective to study what technologies are being used on the other side of the table from you Okay. And how is that putting you either at advantage or at a disadvantage? And if it's a disadvantage, maybe you need to adjust. You need to change. If you keep going the way you're going, this situation is never going to improve itself for us as sellers. I think as sellers, it's imperative for us to always be cognizant of what's going on with our customers and our prospects. How are things changing in their world? And if we're not changing and adapting and evolving to make this alignment possible, we're never going to reach the numbers we want to reach. So there's working hard and working smart. And Howard's the perfect candidate to come in to kind of tie all this together at the end of the day. And then at the end of this, when we're done with Howard, then we're going to have a discussion panel.
Hmm.
So what I'm working on now is bringing in some head of procurement and
Hmm.
buyers in the local market to come. And I've got a few who have committed, but have them sit and take questions from the audience based on all the presentations about what they're actually doing as it relates to these presentations that everyone just heard.
That's great. We've done a couple of shows on the Sales Game Changers podcast where we've had customers, CIOs, CTOs, and they talked about things that are most important to them. And those shows were always great. Really understanding, what do they need? I remember I interviewed a CIO on the Sales Game Changers podcast, and I asked him, "What do you want from sales professionals who call on you?" And I expected he was going to say, a 10-year roadmap. He said, "Just help me understand how to navigate your company." Right? Who do we send, or how do we get an invoice through? How do we get a customer support request through? So that's going to be a great way to wrap things up. All right. Once again, Greg, congratulations. The LSU Sales Symposium, April 9th in Baton Rouge. And again, we'll have the link on how to register, and it's all over your LinkedIn stuff and all over your social media. So this is going to be great. And I applaud you for pulling this together. We like to end every Sales Game Changers podcast with an action step. Again, in the beginning of the show, you gave us a lot of good information. You're going to be presenting great information at the symposium. Uh, for people who are just listening or reading the transcript, what is an action step? And of course, register for the event, fly down to Baton Rouge, but something specific that you, as a sales educator, would like to get across to either sales professionals or people who are already in sales or students to help them take their sales career to the next level.
That's a great point. And there's so much that I can cover with that, but I can kind of boil down to this. And this is the same conversation I have with my students. I said your key to success in sales is that you need to strive and really work hard to understand your customer's business even better than they do.
Hmm.
Because it's not so much that you're just bringing them a solution to a problem. You need to become a resource also.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what separates you from your competitors, because all the products are really good. But what makes you different? Okay. And that difference needs to be that you are a resource that they can rely on for advice, help, and information.
That is a great bit of advice. And I love that. We tell people, and it kind of goes to a lot of your theme with AI. The customer can feel that they've gotten everything they need from AI and from the internet, which obviously aggregates it. So how do you, as a sales professional, make yourself distinct? And how do you separate yourself from the competition? And it's exactly what you just said. It's giving your customer some insights on where the world's going to be in a year from now as it relates to what they're doing. How can they, like you're in a state capital, how can they serve the government customer that needs to serve the citizen with whatever it might be? If they're in financial services, how can they look out to where customers need to be a year from now, 2 years from now? If it's in, selling entertainment, where are customers going? How are they going to be spending their dollars? Those kinds of things. And the sales professionals now, Greg, who are distinguishing themselves are the ones who are coming with those conversations. Like you just said, the customer can find out whatever they need about any product. When
Mhm.
I was at Apple Computer, we used to do 2 days of product roadmap. Customer can type into to the GPT, what's Apple's roadmap for the next 10 years? 30 seconds later, there it is. How can you help them understand how they can serve? All right, once again, congratulations. Look forward to having you have a full day at the symposium. My name is Fred Diamond. This is the Office Hours Sales Professors Unplugged Sales Game Changers podcast.